What's up, everyone, and welcome to another review. And this time I am talking about the 49th movie in the Puppet Master series, and that is the Puppet Master, or just Puppet Master, Littlest Reich. Now, this movie is, again, it's not the 48th, I think it's the 13th movie in the Puppet Master series, which has had a lot of movies, like I said, 13, the unlucky 13, but a lot of them have been like not even straight to DVD. It's been like straight to, I don't even know, straight to Sci-Fi Channel. Like it's been real bad for the series when it comes to where these movies go, and that's not even to include the Demonic Toys series, which is its own separate thing but kind of similar, and they've also met up in movies and stuff, so they've tied in. So now we have the 13th one. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really know much about this series. I really don't, but I was excited for this one because it was written by the guy that wrote and directed both Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in Cell Block 99. And the trailer itself looked like it could be a lot of fun. It had Barbara Crampton in it, the great Barbara Crampton. It had Thomas Lennon, who I really enjoyed. It had a lot of really bloody, disgusting scenes that were like, you know, fun, disgusting, but still went, oh, God. It was all practical. It looked like it could be goofy enough to be enjoyable, but also make you wince at times, which is good enough for me. And it looked like it could be actually pretty funny. So I was looking forward to it. I was, you know, when I watched the trailer, I was like, ooh, that looked good. And now the movie's out, and guess what? I enjoyed it. It was actually not only a good time, I would say it was a blast. I had a great time with this movie, man. You just have to know what to expect from a movie like this. Don't expect something deep. You're just getting a movie about puppets murdering humans over and over again, and that is exactly what you would want from a Puppet Master movie. There's no way in hell you come for the deep characters in the lore. Like, you don't care. Come on, you want the puppets, baby. I mean, the movie's out of its goddamn mind, and I mean, the quotes on this poster pretty much sum it all up. This poster does not do a good job of explaining how ridiculous some of this stuff is that the movie gives you. There are so many kills in this movie. They actually, even in the trailer, it tells you immediately that there's 21 scenes of puppet violence. And yeah, there's about 21. I didn't count them, but it seemed like that was exactly how many. And each one is filled with really awesome practical effects. You have some obvious dummies, which you can tell that the director and the writers and everybody that worked on it really wanted them to look fake. Like, there's times where it's so obvious it's fake, but you can tell they're laughing with it because the movie is a horror comedy. There's obvious fake dummies. There's a lot of gallons of blood and fake guts and stuff, and just like open wounds, like actual makeup and stuff. It's great stuff. It looks really good at times, and it also looks really cheesy. It looks cheesy when it wants to look cheesy, and it looks great when it wants to look great. There's a series of death scenes in this movie. I swear it's about 20-25 minutes in this movie where it's nothing but a montage of just characters we've never seen before getting murdered. Like, we get introduced to them. This girl's the slutty girl. This guy's the Jewish guy, and this is a whole all about like Nazis and stuff, so you can see where it's going here. And it's just puppets murdering these characters that we just get introduced to, and just over the top ways, just absolutely brutal. And it is really funny, but also kind of disturbing at times. And there's actually some really well done cinematography and some really good creepy moments where you just see these puppets in the shadows. But of course, there are moments of stop motion and stuff like that where the puppets start moving. There's even times where the puppet's just in front of the camera and they're just moving the camera with the puppet. You can tell it's like someone holding the bottom of the puppet while it's moving and stuff. You can tell there's a lot of shots like that, and it's really, really funny. But there's even some really creepy ones, like I said. So this movie balances the over-the-top violence where you wince and where you laugh very, very well. And the movie itself looks actually really good, especially compared to some of the other Puppet Master movies, which I never watched them myself, but I just watched a series of trailers for a bunch of them, and whoo, boy, yeah, they definitely look straight to the bottom of the bargain bin when it comes to just visual quality, like the camera work and all that stuff. It looks bad. Let's not lie. This movie was commonly directed. The directors did a really good job. S. Craig Zahler, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm going to call him Brawl Guy because I love Brawl in Cell Block 99. I'll call him Bone Tomahawk Guy because that's shorter. So Bone Tomahawk Guy does a great job of writing these characters. We get Thomas Lennon, who plays a character that lost his brother years and years ago. Not exactly sure if that's a tie-in to the original movie. I think it is, actually. And he lost his brother. At first, he doesn't know from how, but then he realizes it's from these puppets. And he finds one of the puppets inside his brother's room, and he looks on eBay and sees that they actually go for a lot. So he decides to go to a convention where it's the 30-year anniversary of all these murders that happened involving the puppets. So he goes to this convention where they're celebrating it, and he's going to sell it there. And of course, he meets up with a bunch of other people that have their puppets, and they're going to sell it at some type of auction. And of course, you see where that's going. It's just a big meetup of all these puppets, and then it's a bloodbath. There are so many death scenes, so many great ones, so many great practical effects. Very gory, very violent, very, very fun. Now, if I could say anything negative about the movie, if you're coming here expecting characters you don't really get much, Thomas Lennon is a lot of fun, and he has a girlfriend in the movie who's also really fun. He has a friend who's Jewish, so you can see where that's going. But besides that, you don't really get any other big characters. There's a couple characters, some side characters that are kind of fun. You have a black bartender named Cuddly Fish, who's a... No, I'm sorry, Cuddly Fish. Cuddly Bear. Cuddly Fish. Cuddly Bear, who is a really... he does a great job with timing when it comes to comedy in this movie. There's so many times where he just says some of the funniest shit I've heard all year. I thought that guy was great. But besides that, there's not really a huge cast of like really likable characters. You have Michael Parr as the detective who shows up because all these puppets are going missing, but then they soon realize they're actually just meeting up and starting to murder people. So he does a good job. I mean, it's Michael Parr. I like Michael Parr. Everybody else does a good job. Barbara Crampton's in it. She's great in it too. But I mean, she doesn't really have much to do. She's just the police officer or policewoman that's just there, and she has a connection to the characters, the puppets in some way, but they don't really do anything with that. But it was nice to see Barbara Crampton, and let me just say, she has aged very well. She's almost 60 and she looks gorgeous. So while the movie is a lot of fun, I will say it kind of loses steam towards the end. Not that it really loses steam, it's more like there's not really many really grotesque and awesome kills in the last, like, I would say 20 minutes. There's a couple that are bloody, but for the most part, they kind of blow their load early in the movie, especially in, like, there's, like, 2 montages of people getting murdered in this movie that go on for a little while. There's, like, a good, like, 3 or 4 deaths in a row each time those montages happen, and it's really, really awesome. There's one that is hilarious, and it killed me, and I actually recorded my reaction to this because I want to do that from now on, pretty much. Not for now on, but for big movies or ones I really want to see that I think will be reaction worthy. And I won't post that all on YouTube. I'm going to edit it down and condense it into a nice little video so you can just see all my reactions to the best parts. And there's one that killed me that was so good and so funny and so grotesque. There's a few of them that are really bad. If you want to see a pregnant woman getting... You know, I'm going to leave it up there. I'm not going to say anything else. There's a pregnant woman and there's a bunch of murderous puppets. You fill in the blank. You do it. But yeah, sadly, it does lose its steam at the end. But it actually wraps up in a... well, okay, I shouldn't say it wraps up because it actually literally ends with "to be continued," which I'm sure they will have a sequel. These movies are cheap and they always come out with a new one every few years or every year. I think there was one that came out last year, so it's only been a year in between, so there you go. But I'm sure there'll be a sequel, but the way it wraps up kind of felt rushed, and you could tell it was a very cheap movie. You really can, because you don't really get much of an epilogue. There's one really cool practical effect, like creature at the end, which is kind of cool. But for the most part, it kind of just like, it just kind of fizzles out a little bit. There's some decent character stuff towards the end, I will say that, and there's a promise of a sequel, and the sequel might be awesome. So I will give it that. It didn't just fizzle out and say, screw it, we're done, that's it, bye, and like wave off to the camera and say, see you later, you're not getting a sequel, and if you do, we won't be following these characters or whatever. They'll be from a completely different director or whatever. I don't know. I just thought it could have ended a little bit better, but it was still a fine ending. For the most part, I really enjoyed this film, though. I'd say the first hour, even the first 20 minutes where there's not really much killing going on, you get introduced to the characters, and you kind of like them because they're played by really decent actors. So you get a decent look at some of the characters. So when you're in the next 40 minutes, you get to see a lot of people die. So it's the first hour is fun. The last 30 minutes kind of is just going through the motions and kind of fizzles out. It just, I don't know. The last 30 minutes are still fun. It's just not as fun as the first hour of the movie. So there you go. That's what I should have said, really. So overall, Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich is definitely something you should rent. You can get it right now on Xbox. I rented it for $7. And I definitely recommend you renting it because it's a lot of fun. Get a bunch of friends over. You're going to have a good time. It's bloody as all hell. And it's practical. There's so many practical effects in this movie. We don't get too many practical effects horror movies anymore, you know? And Barbara Crampton's in it. If you love horror, you love Barbara Crampton. Jeez, I can't even say her name. Reanimator, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So there you go. Go check it out. I really enjoyed it. It does fizzle out, but it's still a good time. I'm gonna give it a 28 out of 40. There you go. Fun film. Go check it out. There you go. Thank you. And until next time, I love you and goodbye.